Welcome. This is an introduction on how to clean up data within Stata. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start downloading some files from the Florida LCIR website. So download the same files that we had last time. Go to Data, Data A to Z. Once you get to the LCIR webpage, go down to Topics S to Z. Down at the very bottom, the county municipal revenues. What we're going to try and do is actually download the gross taxable and state sales data as well. We're going to combine those files together at a county level. So go ahead and close this out. What you're going to want to do is open up Excel and clean up these like we did before. So you clean up the header by right clicking and delete all. You click at the footer and clean up the footer, and then what we're going to do is delete out all these columns as well. And last time, if you recall from the importing video, we had to put a y in front of all these variables. There's an easy way to do that. If you do equals concatenate and then you do double quotes y double quotes and then comma and click on the cell C1 and then drag this over. You're going to do this for all the variables from 1993 to 2005. You just copy, Control C, right click, paste special, do the values instead of the formulas, and it's going to paste over that. And now you're actually ready to go instead of having to type them in by hand. It's really handy if you have a number of years to do. So go ahead and save this file as a CSV onto the desktop and do the same thing for the other file where you clean it up just as well and save it as a CSV. I'm going to pause the video so I can do that at my own leisure. So what I did with this file is I took out the header, took out the footer, and then you're going to notice in the file names that I have Y and then the year. I went ahead and I saved that as a CSV as well. I don't want to save any changes. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually open up a do file. I always open up my do file editors every time I work with Stata. And let's go with the cleaning up data file. I'm just going to drag this off to the side so it doesn't take up the space on the screen. Let's clear and set more off. And we're going to go ahead and import the first file to take a look at it. We have that V2. If you look at it, it's that text again. So let's go ahead and just drop V2. Now we want to destring Y1993 because we want to take it from a string to a numerical variable. So let's go and destring it and then replace it over itself. It won't let us, so let's look at the codebook problems. It says we have leading and trailing blanks within here, so what we can do is we can actually replace Y1993 with an L trim of Y1993. That'll trim off the leading blanks, and if we want to get rid of the trailing blanks, we do a right trim. And then if we do a replace, let's do if Y1993 is equal to a dash, we'll give it a period. So we'll do replace Y1993 equals a period if that. And what else do we need to do? Let's go ahead and try and destring it again, see if this works. Doesn't work. If you look in here, you can't really tell why. It's probably because of the dollar signs and maybe because of the commas. But let's just go ahead and sort Y1993. If we look at it, we actually find that we have some blank values as well. So if we go ahead and drop those, then we'll be one step closer. So let's drop if Y1993 is equal to blank and if county is equal to blank. So if there's no variable descriptions or values within those, if you open it up again, you see it's dropped it. It's left Duval in there because Duval had something in the county field. If we destring it again, let's go ahead and ignore the dollar sign, the period, and the comma and replace it. Now what you see is that ignore those, just treated them as nothing in there, and it's in a string. So let's repeat this for all of the variables now from 1994 to 2005. Exact same code as what we had before. What it's going to do is within the Y with a single quote, left quote and right quote, it's going to take this value of Y 1994 and put it into all those values right there, and over here everywhere you see I's, and then it's going to go back and do 1995, 1995, 1995, 1995 all the way down, and it's going to keep going until it gets to 2005 in 1 year increments. So we do that. Open it up, everything's in black, so we got numerical variables, that's good. We look at codebook problems, no problems, except for the county, which isn't a big deal. We're going to go ahead and name the county, county name, and we'll label the data as county revenues in Florida, 1993 to 2005, and we'll just put in a note about when this data set was last updated. If we go to notes list, and we have that there. If we go to describe, then we have the title right over here. Let's sort by the county. We can also generate an ID variable if we wanted to, so we can order it, and you're going to see it's going to jump from the bottom up to the top. Now if we open this, then we have all the numbers right here. There's actually just the numbers right here, so we could have actually had also done a square bracket around here and done +1 and square bracket or -1, and we'd go up and down in the values within there. Last thing we want to do is we want to reshape it because we want to take it out of this wide form and put it in a long form, so we have an ID, a county, and then a year, and then a revenue value. So we'd have 1993 and then 249 right there, and then we'd have 1994 and then the value to 1995 all the way down, and then the next county would come up. The way to do this is reshape long Y, at least with this data set, and the Y, since it has a number after it, we'll go ahead and split it apart. The IDs are the ID and county, and they're the same thing actually. The J is going to be the year, which is going to just make up the year. It's going to strip that off the end of the Y variable. So if you look at it, here's the years, here's the total revenue, so we need to rename Y to be something we like tot rev. And let's just go ahead and we'll label Y and tot, or year and tot rev, so they have names right over here. And we'll save this just as cleanup. Replace if there is any other one. Now we also have to do is do the same thing for the other data sets. Let me pause it real quick. So for the other data set, we're going to do the same kinds of commands. We're going to do in-sheet using the name of the file, and it read everything in. If you look at it, it's also in string and not numeric variables all the way through. We don't have to worry about dropping anything. But let's go ahead and write the script for going from 1990 right here all the way down to 2009. We're just going to replace the left and right trims. We're going to replace it if it has a dash, and then we're going to try and ignore it. So we actually don't need. We're going to drop it if it's blank. We're going to destring, and then we're going to format it so it comes out in a nice format that you can actually see, and there's no like E10 or E-5 or E3, whatever, for times 10 to the third. The next thing to do is just go ahead and sort it. We'll gen an ID equals underscore n again, and then we're going to order it by ID, and then we'll reshape this one just as like we did the other one. Rename Y instead of tot rev, we're going to name it gross sales. We'll go ahead and label that as gross sales and save the data set as gross sale. The last thing to do is to actually load in that first data set. So let's use the cleanup data set, and we're going to merge in that gross sale data set that we just made. We're going to merge it over ID and county. It's the same thing, so you don't have to actually have both of these. And then year, because within the variation you have a county and then you have a year variation using the data set. And then we're going to do a comma sort. This is like a Stata 10 format. If you do tab underscore merge, you're going to see 2s and 3s. You can do help merge, and you'll see what those mean. Basically, it means that this has all the data, this does not. If you go down, the reason is because in the other data set you have data from 1990 to 92 and 2006 to 2009, which you don't have for total revenue. Normally you don't want to get rid of this stuff, but we are going to get rid of it later on because we just don't need to deal with it right now. So let's go ahead and do it Stata 11 way. We're going to merge many to many, and now you see we don't have the sort because we have the many and many. It's the exact same thing as right up here when we had merged with the old format. We can go ahead and drop it if we don't want the merge equals to 2, and we can drop the merge variable. That way it doesn't give us any troubles. We're going to go ahead and compress the data, and we can look at the notes that we have in here. We don't want that note, so let's go ahead and drop it. So notes drop underscore all, and let's just add in the new note about this data set was last updated with a timestamp. There's our note, worked fine. So let's go ahead and save this as final.dta. That's how to merge in files. Real quick, how to append files. Say we started with this final data set and we only wanted to keep the things within Alachua. If we list it, say we only wanted to deal with 1993 to 1999 and 2000 2005. We had two data sets with both of those separately. Let's go ahead and create them real quick. We can go ahead and keep if years less than or equal to 1999, and then we'll save it as Alach1, and then we'll go ahead and use final clear, and then we can do keep if Alachua, and then we'll do drop if years less than or equal to 1999. You see what happens, it catches the later part of our data set, and we'll save this as Alach2. We can do comma replace if we want to. We can do clear, and we can use the first one, Alach1, and we're going to go ahead and append using Alach2. Before we do that, let me just copy that. Let me list this so you know that's got the first half of the data set. Now we're going to append doing that, and we got the full data set, so you can save this as Alach and do whatever you want. If you want to delete it, then you can do an exclamation point and delete Alach star.star, so anything with Alachua in it is going to be deleted. We're not going to have it on our desktop if you just saw something that disappeared over there. And that's it for importing data. So good luck, have fun for cleaning them up, and talk to you later.